Hi, it's me, and I am slightly annoyed with myself because it's been 4 days, 4 working days since I made the last video, and that is not how this project was supposed to be going. I'm supposed to be making these videos every single day. The reason for that is because the work that I have been doing mainly has been working out how to make these videos and then process them into like a YouTube video, a podcast, a written document, and other bits and pieces. So I didn't want to make the next video until I'd actually completed that process to allow me to then rapidly roll that next video out and so on. But I didn't really expect it to take this long, and had I been a little bit more sensible around a couple of tasks, it probably wouldn't have taken quite this long. But anyway, it is what it is. So there's been a bit of a delay there. I'm now reasonably sure about what I'm doing, and hopefully it won't happen again in terms of leaving a delay between videos. So that means I've got a lot to catch up on. I think I'm going to chop it down into 2 or 3 videos, and frankly they're not going to be that great, because part of the reason I'm trying to do this every day is because it means it'll be fresh in my head, what I did for the last few hours, and I won't have to rely too much on notes, and I'll remember interesting nuances of what was involved. That's not really going to be the case here. I'm just going to have to hack my way through these notes as best I can. So let's go. The first thing I've got here is that I messed around with the card reader that I'd bought, and in so doing realised that I could do with a few more USB ports. So I bought a hub off Amazon and an 8-way plug adapter. So essentially I went on a quick office shopping spree. I then tried out the RC6 Canon remote control that you can see here. This is the thing I bought because it allows me to control this camera that I'm currently recording on remotely, which is a small thing, but it's just useful. It means I can stop and start recording without having to reach up to the camera, and that means if I make a bit of a mistake and need to edit it, it's easier to do that. It will be particularly useful today, I think, since even if I don't make mistakes that I want to chop out, I'm still going to be making 3 or 4 separate videos. So it's the type of thing where it's no big deal, but it's just a little bit of a time saver, and over the years, if I'm doing this for years, hopefully I will be, it will add up to quite a bit of time saved. And it was only something like, I think it was $8.99, so no big deal from a money point of view. So then I made yesterday's video, which is no longer yesterday's. That will have meant the second built from scratch video, which took 20 minutes, and even so, so my point there is it took quite a while, and I nevertheless missed out mentioning that I'd started writing out a standard operating procedure for built from scratch video, podcast and article production, which I have now mentioned in this video. It's the thing that I've spent the last 4 days doing. So I went on to process that video using that standard operating procedure, which I had written out to that extent at that point in time, and I updated it as I went. As things stand today, I actually, whilst I've added massively to that written document, I haven't yet gone through it and simplified it and checked that everything's correct. That's what I'll be doing after I've made this video. And one of the small benefits of the fact that I'm making 2 or 3 catch-up videos today is that I will be able to go through that process one after another X amount of times. So hopefully at least that will be fairly slick by the time I've finished updating these videos. I tried using my laptop for the entire process that time, knowing that my laptop is fairly underpowered. and I noted that editing on an underpowered laptop is the problem, but editing should be very light in general. So I figured versus the first video, which took a fair bit of editing, that video and ones in the future might require rather less, so I tried doing it on the laptop. I think I'm right in saying that it did work okay, so that's probably going to be the thing to do from now, is the editing, and in fact a lot of the processing of these videos, the rendering, the uploading, whatever, I'm going to be doing on my laptop on a separate Wi-Fi connection, just tethered off my phone actually, is the plan, whilst in the times in between those actions I can then go back to working on my desktop computer. So that's going to be one of the ways that I can do quite a lot of actions with regards to the processing of these videos without having to waste too much time on it. I got a response from Generate Press support with regards to my request, well, my question about duplicating specific pages within some of their site layouts into a different site layout. And the response was that there is no way of doing that, but the guy who wrote back also pointed out that the page that I was talking about is actually really quite easy to replicate, and I spent a little bit of time trying to do that, or at least kind of working through the first few steps to do that, and I think I now agree with what he said. I think I am going to be able to replicate it fairly easily, so that problem is solved, albeit I haven't actually done it yet. I then talk about the fact that I've decided to keep the site layout. I can't remember, I've got no notes down here about the fact that I reconsidered that. Maybe I mentioned it in the last video. I've said most sections in the other site are not needed here. Oh god, this is awful. I don't even remember what I was talking about there. I know I considered switching to a different site layout, but as I put in the next line, I've now customized the palette and added a logo, and it's starting to look okay. And oh yeah, so also the issue with regards to the text area being framed on desktop is exaggerated by my use of a very wide screen on desktop. So I checked this on my laptop and my phone, and essentially on even just a laptop size screen, so quite large but not enormous, the framed area is still there, but it's the frame is quite close to the edges of the screen, and it just looks okay in a way that on the very wide screen that I've got on desktop it really didn't. It looked kind of tacky. But very few people will be looking at the site on a screen this size. In fact, I think the majority of them will be looking on a mobile, so it's not really much of an issue, and I've decided I can therefore live with it. Next note, went for a snooze due to cat in baby's room. Not the most business-like or professional of comments, but the fact is I'm a father to two very small kids, and we've got a couple of cats at home. There are various issues caused by the kids, and occasionally issues caused by the cats, and on the night before the day in question, those two things had combined. My wife had put the little kid, the baby, to bed, and hadn't realised that one of the cats had snuck into the room. So about 3 o'clock that morning, I got woken up by the sound of a cat scratching the carpet and howling to be let out. So I had to leap out of bed and allow him to escape before he woke the baby up, which by some kind of miracle didn't happen. But then I went back to bed, and I'd kind of woken up, so I think it took me about an hour to get back to sleep, and I was pretty tired that day. So I went for a little lie down, which is helpful sometimes. I'm not the most energetic of people, to be honest. I sometimes do struggle with energy levels, especially in the afternoon. Since I'm working at home at the moment, I do have the option of going for a little sleep, and I did that day, and it helped. I came back and did some good work after that. So I went back to, how are we doing for time? 10 minutes. I went back to video processing, and at that point I was working on getting a transcription from the video, because in theory I would like to have a written transcription of these videos on my website underneath where I embed the YouTube videos, because some people might want to read this stuff. I very much doubt it, but you never know, just a few people might. And more importantly, it is a fairly good way of getting a whole bunch of long tail keywords on your site. I'm not sure how much value it's going to provide, but I think it will be more than zero. And with transcription software, you can do this kind of thing for little effort. Although I know there are more notes coming on this in a minute, so I won't talk too much on that. So I think it's worth a go. And so as part of this, I upgraded my subscription to an app called Otter. I don't know how well known it is, but it's a voice to text transcription app, and it's very good. I would say I think based on a bit of experimentation I did a few months ago, it's certainly one of the best options out there, and versus my expectations of computer generated transcriptions, it's really surprisingly accurate. They do quite a generous free allowance. I think it's 600 minutes a month. But I did the maths of what I'm going to need if I do this, and it was going to be a bit more than that. So I decided to pay for it. I can't remember how much it was now. I think it was, I can't guess even. I just know it was a small enough amount that I didn't really have to think too much about going for it. And for that you get 6,000 minutes a month, which is absolutely loads. You also get to export as a docx document, whereas if you haven't paid, you can just do it as a .txt text document, which means everything just gets kind of compressed into just one huge line of text, which means even if you don't really want to edit the output, if you want it to be readable, you are going to have to at least edit it into paragraphs, whereas exporting as a docx, which is a Word document, it's going to come in paragraphs, so it's possible to pretty much just paste it onto the page and be done in just a few seconds. Right, 13 minutes. Oh, right, I'll just finish off the Otter notes and then I'll call it a day on this first video. So I said I edited Otter output, then decided against doing so in the future unless I get the resources to do so. That's because, if I remember rightly, the video was about 15-20 minutes long, and it took, I think it was about 3/4 of an hour to edit it, which is quite a lot. And bearing in mind the editing was still rough. It was just correcting a few spelling mistakes and the few places where it had messed up words badly enough that it became difficult to read, or on a couple of occasions where the actual message was lost, I rewrote sentences. So kind of medium lightweight editing, and it took a while. And my aim for this, I don't know if I've stated this already, is to try and get an entire video made, processed, published, absolutely done in about an hour, which is probably quite ambitious, given that making the video itself is going to be about 15 to 20 minutes, but that's what I'm aiming for. And realistically, if it's very much more than that, I'm going to have to not do it, because I need to spend the vast majority of my time actually building the website and creating content. I'm not going to abandon the build from scratch project completely if it turns out to take longer than that. I'll still make the video and do whatever I can fit into an hour, but it will be less than this sort of full stack of media creation. Yes, so I've just decided for now I am going to simply paste the Otter output onto the page, which is probably going to render its usefulness close to zero, but not quite. And since it will take literally a matter of seconds to do that, the benefit doesn't need to be anything substantial to make it worth doing. Okay, that is the end of this video, and straight into the next one.